Here are some highlights of this program.
Hello everybody.
Welcome to Brainstorm exclusive interview.
Our education should be corrected, adapted, and updated.
Live better, they can send their children to school because they can interact with their authorities.
Mechanics, electricity, computer science, innovation,
And we know that this brainstorm.
Yourself after watching this interesting program, notice the final statement made by our notable guest, a brand new one. Welcome to this new edition of Brainstorm. The judicial system and the rule of law in the Democratic Republic of the Congo. How does the judicial system work in the Democratic Republic of Congo? What is the link between the judicial system and the rule of law? Is the judicial system in the Democratic Republic of Congo really independent? Please pay attention to this topic as we, together with my guests on this platform, we're going to discuss this topic. Is very important. My guest name is Alex Mwembwe. Hello, Alex.
Hello.
How are you doing?
Fine.
Okay, Alex is a lawyer. He is well placed to discuss this relevant topic. We're going to spend time together. So, as a lawyer, we're well placed to discuss this very important topic, right?
Yes.
Yes. According to your understanding, you know what the judicial system is and the rule of law. What is judicial system?
So first of all, let me make you a public testimony of my appreciation for your broadcast, Brainstorm. What a novel idea to set up such a broadcast. So to come to your question, let me say that the judicial system, it is in the regime of separation of powers, one of three body of powers alongside the executive and legislative. That's what we call the judicial system.
Okay, the judicial system as a part of what is in the country, right?
Yes.
And this legislate many institutions of the country.
Yes.
Based on the law.
Yes.
So here we talk about the rule of law as well in the Democratic Republic of Congo. But before we go further to this discussion, we'd like the audience to watch this video that defines the rule of law, and we'll be back.
Rule of law, it means we're all equal in front of the law.
When everybody is free to say what they want. Justice?
The rule of law is holding people accountable to the law.
The law must emanate from the people. Look, the law lives in the consciousness of the people. If you don't have that, you don't have law.
In countries where the rule of law is absent, ordinary people do not have access to the justice system. Imagine you're walking down the street and you're suddenly approached by plainclothes police officers from a secret security agency. You're taken to a prison, you're tortured, you're abused, you're held without any legal grounds, and you have just simply disappeared.
The rule of law emanates from the people of a nation. Yet there are countries where the rule of law is not a common practice.
Without the rule of law, you have a nation where its citizens' fundamental rights and well-being are not protected.
The United States Institute of Peace believes that rule of law is the lifeblood of a society.
One example of how we bring in voices of the people into the process is through justice and security dialogue, where we bring citizens, government, police, and others together to build trust, identify the rule of law challenges, and come up together with joint solutions and strategies.
The rule of law is more than about one person, or even groups of people. The rule of law is a process, but once constructed can be enduring.
What we're seeing in the world is people's demand for a voice in decisions that affect their lives. for a society that provides justice, security, and accountability for everyone. In other words, a society that abides by the rule of law.
Okay, now, when you talk about the judicial system and the rule of law, is there any branch related to this judicial system and the rule of law in a state?
Of course, yes. I think the Constitution is provided that courts are organs that are supposed to take the judicial system into charge.
Okay, so can we refer to the rule of law without judicial system?
Absolutely not, because the judicial system is there to help the implementation of the rule of law. The rule of law is a principle, as you know, under which everybody, every institution, entities have to be submitted. That's why, of course, we have to speak about one with the other. We cannot speak about one without the other.
Okay, so we can't speak about one without the other.
Yes.
So it means there is a close link, right?
There is.
And now, in the Democratic Republic of Congo, how does judicial system work?
Yes, as I've just said, the Article 149 of the Constitution is really talking about how the judicial system works. We have the courts that are implementing the laws in the country, and these courts are such a constitutional court. We have Court of Cassation, we have high military courts, we have the Council of State, and tribunals and courts. So the law, the judicial system is organized in order in our country. We have judiciary order, which is under control of Court of Cassation. We have the Council of State, and we have the Constitutional Court. Those are three courts, or two orders of jurisdiction that we have in our country, apart from the Constitutional Court. And each court, such as Court of Cassation, is organized. For example, we have at the top the Court of Cassation, followed by the Court of Appeal. We have the District Court and the Tribunal of Peace.
So yes. I understand from this explanation that the judicial system is really broad, right?
Yes.
And so you cannot really cover all the aspects of it.
Yeah.
But one of the things that at the outset I mentioned, you are a lawyer.
Yes.
So sometimes people are confused who is a lawyer and a magistrate. Is there any difference between a lawyer and a magistrate?
Yes. First of all, let me tell you that in a very, very wide meaning of the term, a lawyer is he who went to a law school. In that concept, lawyer, all of them are lawyers, magistrate and lawyer. Now, secondly, it's where I'm going to meet your question. A lawyer is he who practices the law. It means that the guy who is representing his client before the court and advising him through different processes he has to go through. And the magistrate is a public servant. It means that he is working for the state in the court. And we have two categories of magistrates. Number one, we have the magistrate of the court that we call judge, and the magistrate we call prosecutors.
Okay,
Yes.
This sounds really great. You understand the explanations, but sometimes, according to the explanations provided, a lawyer, anyone who studies law becomes a lawyer, right? And then an attorney is someone who defends a client, right?
Yes.
All right, that's so clear. But another question was: is that judicial system independent from the president of the republic and the government?
Yes, constitutionally, yes, because if we just stay on the Article 149 of the Constitution, the judicial system is independent from the President of the Republic and the government.
So there is no interference from the President?
There is not interference, constitutionally speaking, of the President in the judicial matters.
Okay.
Yes.
People sometimes wonder, say, okay, somebody who is to appear to the courts, but it can be also benefit president's pardon, and sometimes people misunderstand, knowing well that the judicial system is not really independent. That's how people view the things. But we'd like to watch this video about what the politician who was in the prison and was released thanks to a presidential pardon, and after that we'll be back.
Frank Diongo spent 2.5 years in Kinshasa Central Prison. He is one of 3 prominent opposition leaders released from jail after being pardoned by Democratic Republic of Congo's President Felix Tshisekedi, who was elected in December.
I'm very happy to see my brother released from jail. I don't know how to express all the emotions. Finally, my brother is free.
Human rights lawyer Firmin Yangambi was also released. He'd been sentenced to 20 years in prison in 2009 on charges of being a threat to national security. An additional 700 political prisoners have also been pardoned by Tshisekedi. Most were arrested for speaking out against former President Joseph Kabila during his 18 years in office.
It's a joy for all of us. We want to thank the president and ask him not to imitate the behavior of the former regime.
Tshisekedi's decision to pardon political prisoners is widely seen as a move to break away from the politics of his predecessor. But these attempts are proving difficult. There were violent protests by the president's supporters in Kinshasa after his Union for Democracy and Social Progress party suffered a crushing loss on Friday's elections for the National Assembly. Joseph Kabila's Common Front for Congo coalition took more than 2/3 of the seats in the Senate or upper chamber, and it already holds a majority in the lower chamber. Now, many are questioning the president's ability to govern independently. On the streets, it's feared there could be more violence.
Supporters of the president claim they do not have enough senators, but it's not our issue. They shouldn't come and carry out these acts of vandalism in our neighborhood.
Despite the setbacks, Tshisekedi says he will continue to push his agenda forward. In addition to the prisoner's pardon, he has pledged to bring back political opponents who fled the republic when Kabila was president. This, even though Kabila still has considerable influence in the country. Katia Lopez-Odoyan, Al Jazeera.
Okay, now let's talk about a presidential pardon. So we say there is no interference. Why does the president sometimes come up or order that a prisoner be released if it specifically is a political prisoner?
Well, I think it's a very, very critical question that to speak about the presidential pardon. First of all, I have to say that the presidential pardon is a prerogative that the Constitution recognizes to the president.
It does not decide on his own.
So he decides whenever he wants, and he has no excuse or explanation to give for.
So it means when he makes that decision, he's not accountable to anyone.
He is not accountable to anyone. And it's through a process that a presidential pardon is effective. For example, if somebody is arrested, judged, and condemned, he is in prison, so the initiative can come from the lawyer, his lawyer, from the member of parliament, or from anybody. Anybody can write to the president asking for the pardon. And when the president, there is a commission that is supposed to work on that matter. The commission is going to transmit its conclusion to the president, and the president then will assign the liberation of those people condemned. Let me add something, that the presidential pardon is not erasing the condemnation. You will be still seen as a condemned person while free outside.
Okay, this explanation comes from an expert. I can feel when I listen to you, things is really clear, right? Because there's a misunderstanding from the people. But now, there is what we call a fundamental law called a constitution.
Yeah.
But judges, lawyers, or magistrates, let me say it like this, do they have other regulations they base on in order to make some decisions when it comes to judging or it comes to making decisions?
Very good question. Let me tell you that the Constitution is a fundamental law in a country, and our country has a Constitution of the February 26th. So the Constitution has provided different laws, and it depends on the case at the stake, the nature of the case at the stake, for the judge to apply it or not. For example, if you have a civilian case, the judge is not going only to base on the Constitution to sentence, but he's also going to base on the civilian court to state on your case. That is the same with the criminal court, business and stuff. The constitutional is like a reference to which the judge has to run.
Okay, but now let's touch on another factor. People sometimes say, okay, the law is not fair. Why are some people or citizens who benefit what the law provides and others, they suffer a sentence?
Mm-hmm.
So it can do something bad, but there is what we call impunity.
Yeah.
So in Democratic Republic of Congo, some of the people feel like that. You think that there is what we call impunity in Congo?
Well, let me tell you that the rule of law, in the rule of law, the impunity has no place. In the rule of law, anybody is equal before the law. And when you commit an offense, you are supposed to be punished. And so why are some people outside just after they have been condemned and others not? Maybe it's because of their belongings, political belongings and stuff. So in that matter, I can say there is a penal or criminal procedure. A criminal procedure is determining that matters of the guy who is in prison and who can ask for the temporary freedom, and it can work.
Okay, that was a controversy in Congo, a pastor regime. So we're going to watch this video about a minister of justice who was sentenced and what happened after. Please watch this video. We'll be back.
The Democratic Republic of Congo's Justice Minister Celestin Tunda Yakasende was released from custody over the weekend just hours after his arrest in the capital Kinshasa, the city's chief of police said. Tunda has consistently opposed changes in the laws by the sitting government, citing illegalities. There is no time in the government here in the Congo that we have discussed observations on proposed laws. The bills are the prerogatives of the MPs. How could we discuss them in the government? The comments go to the Minister of Justice. The actions against Tunda on Saturday came a day after he clashed with President Felix Tshisekedi over the contested legal changes, according to a ministerial source. One must have the approval of the National Assembly before prosecuting a member of the government. What we have seen today is a birth of dictatorship. The controversial reforms include proposals to define the powers of judges, which critics said is a ploy to muzzle the judiciary. They were put forward by the Common Front for Congo, a coalition close to Kabila, who remains a behind-the-scenes force in national politics.
Yes, we're going to talk about judicial system. People, most of the people, I mean, not only lawyers, think that those who are not lawyers, that the judicial system exists only in a democratic rule. Is that true?
Absolutely, because as I said it before, a rule of law is a principle under which everybody is submitted to the law. And in democracy, it's the law that prevails. So it is absolute that the rule of law exists in democratic rule.
Doesn't exist in a dictatorship or totalitarian regime?
Not at all. Not at all. Because in those regimes, it's the monarch that dictates its vision, it's what it feels like.
Okay, but we know also that the members of parliament or congressmen, they benefit what we call a parliamentary immunity.
Yeah.
It means that they can't be arrested anyhow, they can't be prosecuted anyhow. So can you explain to us how does this system work?
Yes, I think it's provided around the globe in different parliaments that a member of parliament have to enjoy civil immunity. So constituents have consecrated this in order to guarantee the freedom of speech and the investigation for the member of parliament in the exercise of their functions. And people are really worrying about why, when it comes to lawsuit, these immunity prevail. Yes. Let me clarify that immunity is not putting member of parliament above the law. It is just a simple prerogative. But when a member of parliament commits an offense, he can respond for his actions.
Under which condition can that immunity be lifted?
Yes, when the prosecutor who is in charge of public prosecution addresses a request to the office where the member of parliament belongs, then the vote will be organized to lift those immunity or not. And when the immunities are lifted, the member of parliament is going to respond to his action. Let me give you an example. We have seen that with the last Prime Minister, Augustin Matata, that what happened, the Parliament have authorized the lifting of his immunity, and he went before the court, even if he was not judged.
And yeah, what you say is relevant, but before we move ahead, I'd like people just to watch this video about the former Prime Minister, what happened to him about lifting his immunity.
The Congolese judiciary requests the lifting of a parliamentary immunity on former Prime Minister Augustin Matata Ponyo. Ponyo was PM of the DR Congo between 2012 and 2016. He has been implicated in a case of embezzlement of public funds. A senior magistrate of the prosecutor's office near the Court of Cassation told AFP Monday there are serious indications of his involvement in the embezzlement of funds intended for the agro-industrial park located 250 kilometers southeast of Kinshasa. Quote, "I'm not afraid of anything. I'm ready to appear before the court, even if injustice must prevail over justice," Ponyo said Sunday during a press conference. He had returned to the capital from Guinea the same day to respond to these accusations. Ponyo said the allegations were called full of lies. In November, the General Inspectorate of Finance concluded in a report that $205 million of the $285 million disbursed by the Treasury for a pilot agro-industrial park project in the locality of Bukangalonzo had been misappropriated. After stepping down in November 2016 as Prime Minister under former President Joseph Kabila, Ponyo became a senator. To be validated, the lifting of his parliamentary immunity must still be voted in plenary.
Okay, thank you. But now, we talk about the Constitution. Sometimes it's revised about the members of parliament. When can a Constitution be revised and why?
Well, I think that the Articles 218 to 220 of the Constitution are providing the issue of the revision of the Constitution. The Constitution has provided when it can be revised, when it cannot be revised. It is during the siege state or stage of emergency. For example, when we were in the COVID time, that time we cannot revise the Constitution. And if a president is prevented from exercising his functions, the interim president cannot organize the revision of the Constitution. So when we come to the form of the republic, to the duration of the terms of the president, the Constitution cannot also be revised. There are some elements that I cannot really mention at this time, but the revision of the Constitution can come from the initiative of the president himself, or the government united in the board and the fraction of population of around 100,000 people who express themselves in the petition.
Okay, yes, we are near at the end of our show.
Yes.
I'd like you to explain a little bit about election organization, because we know that election is part of a rule of law in a state, given a state.
Yeah.
So when is an election fair, free, and transparent? Because all people who want just to look at to wish that election be free, fair, and transparent in a state, be trustworthy.
Well, when can election be fair, free, and transparent?
Yeah.
Yes, elections can be free when everybody can participate to the process. With, on one hand, voters who choose their representatives and candidates who run for elections, when there is inclusion, when nobody is excluded from the process. Transparent when everybody has the access to the information, to the outcome of the election without cheating, and when the election is to make sure that the election is being done with integrity.
Okay, we're running out of time. So the last question, as Congo is on the path of the rule of law, what can Congolese people expect from their judicial system in the upcoming day?
In the upcoming days, I think that Congolese have to expect tremendous effort from the judicial system to be made so that everybody may have access to the judicial system without problem.
Alex, thank you for joining us on this platform.
You're welcome, sir.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are at the end of our talk show. We talked about the judicial system and the rule of law in the DRC, or Democratic Republic of Congo. Thank you for watching this relevant program, and we'd like you to be next time tuned on the second national channel for another edition. Thank you. Here are some highlights of this program.
Hello, everybody.
Welcome to Brainstorm exclusive interview.
Our education should be corrected, adapted, and updated.
Live better, they can send their children to school because they can interact with their authorities.
Mechanics, electricity, computer science, innovation,
And we know that this brainstorm.
Yourself after watching this interesting program, notice the final statement made by our notable guest, a brand new one.